This is the Section YY podcast, another episode, Harbin, and we are close now. It's close now. We are single digit days away from the start of another football season. Negative Niece here with Harb Virtual Studios. We're just going to get right into it because we got a big show this week. Like I said, single digit days away from the 2024 season kicking off. I think it's what I said a couple weeks ago. It's kind of snuck up on me a little bit. A lot going on this summer. Baseball went longer. Still enjoying that, soaking that in, soaking that up, and here it is, just boom, right in front of me. I drove by Neyland Stadium today. I was like, man, this time in 10 days, as of this recording, but when you're listening to this, 9 or 8 or 7, whenever you choose to listen, but it just kind of hit me driving down Neyland Drive today. It's like it's here. It's time.
It is, man. I'm fired up. I remember back in, I guess, early January, they're like, man, we got to wait 9 months for this. And they flew by. Here we are. We made it.
We've almost made it. So, a little housekeeping before we get going. Appreciate everybody listening to our last episode with Jordan Bowden, big hit. If you're new to the podcast from that, welcome. Or if you're coming back, one of our longtime listeners, thanks for coming back. But really appreciate Jordan coming on. He was a great interview. Got a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people have listened to it that didn't even know about the podcast, which was kind of the point of having somebody like Jordan on. Now, our numbers aren't, we had, as of this recording, a little over 300 views on YouTube. Compared to a lot of other podcasts, that's not very much, but to us, that's a lot. So if you're one of those that listen to it, thank you. We do appreciate it. And hopefully we'll try to get some more interviews going during the football season, maybe try to get some football related content interviews on here. So I'll work on that, see what I can pull off, and we'll see if we can get you guys some more interviews to listen to. But if you're new here, if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching. If you're listening, thanks for listening wherever you might be listening throughout the world. So, a few things we're going to talk about on this week's show, Harbin. Football schedule, football recruiting, Tennessee facilities, athletic facilities, tailgating. There was I saw somebody this past weekend, and the listeners may be shocked to know who it was.
Who was it?
Well, I'll tell you later on. Or should I tell them now? Should we save it for later in the show or do it now?
Hmm. I
Let's
think
save
so.
it for later. Or
Okay.
do it now? Let's do it
No,
now.
no. You're the captain of this ship. You can say it later.
I was going to say we could save it for later. Maybe people will hang around
Hmm.
to find out who it is. You could also skip forward, but I won't tell you where it's going to be at in the show. So skip forward at your own risk. And also the hater and loser of the week. I've got two that I'm going back and forth on, but one of them I'm kind of backing off on. I might throw their name out there, but I may back off on them. We'll see. I don't know. Depends on what mood I'm in toward the end of the show when we get to the hater and loser segment. And a lot of you will know this person. So can't wait to get to that, but I don't know if I'll throw him out there or not. All right, Harbin, football schedule. Like we said, 9 days away. What I wanted to do, talk to Harbin earlier in the week about this. We're going to do couple three things here. Most intriguing game on the schedule, trap game. Harbin loves a good trap game, and we all know about that. Harbin loves a good
Do like
trap game. And we'll do our win-loss preview. We're just going to throw out the win-loss record. Game. I don't know if we'll go game by game, but we'll at least talk about the full schedule. So I'll start with you, Harb. What is your most intriguing game of the 2024 season? It could be any of them. Could be UTC, could be UTEP, Vandy, Alabama. Who is it?
so. If you asked 100 people in Knoxville what their answer would be, most of them are going to say the Oklahoma game. It's Oklahoma's first SEC game. It's Nico's first. It's Nico's first SEC game. It's our first road game. There's a lot of
What?
Heupel's first return back to Norman. There's a lot of things at hand at that game. For me personally, I think it's North Carolina State. I really do. For one, nobody really knows much about the Wolfpack this year. They've got a lot of talent that they've brought in via the portal. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack. They've brought in a lot of talent in the portal. Grayson McCall played for Jamie Chadwell for what felt like 8 years at Coastal Carolina.
He's been there a while.
Feels like it. I'm assuming he's a fifth or sixth year. He's at least in his fifth.
I think he's a sixth.
I'm assuming he got a COVID year. He's one of the last few that got a COVID year. They brought in his name's escaping me, but they got that tight end that we were looking at for a very long time.
Yeah,
he's very good. On paper, this is a game that we should win. However, there's a lot of people in the media that are very high on the Wolfpack this year, and I believe they're starting the season ranked in somewhere in the 20s, 22 maybe. This game is much harder than what most people are giving it credit for. In my opinion, it's a toss-up at best. I'm definitely not penciling this one in as, oh yeah, we definitely got that one. So for that reason, well, really the uncertainty level, that's my most intriguing game. And in my opinion, as of August 22nd, it's the most important game of the season. You know, because if we start off 3-0 going into Oklahoma, we got some serious momentum. But if we're 2-1 and drop that game 2-2 out of the gate, and Knoxville's burning to the ground.
So it's you took the same game I took. I was going to go. I was thinking about this earlier, putting this stuff together, and I thought about Oklahoma for all the reasons you said. It's Oklahoma's first Southeastern Conference game. Josh Heupel's returning to Norman for the first time since he was let go from the school as offensive coordinator years ago. He played there, finished second in the Heisman, won a national title. There's a lot of storylines to that game, but it's not. It's the fourth game of the season for Tennessee. It's the fourth game of the year for Oklahoma. And we'll talk more about Oklahoma as we get along. So I went with NC State as well because it's really the first big test for Tennessee. I did not look to see who NC State plays next weekend. Maybe you can look that up while I'm blabbering along here. But Tennessee, NC State, it's in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, but it's in NC State's backyard. It's a night game, 7:30 on ABC. So when I was looking into NC State or listening to some other podcasts, they all seem to think that Tennessee's the better team. Tennessee should win this game. It should be a 2-touchdown game is what a lot of pundits are saying. But the more you look into it, like Tennessee's only favored by 5.5 points last I saw. I don't know if there's another current line. That was from back in like May or April. But NC State lost a lot last year. I mean, they lost probably one of the best defensive players that's ever been in their school's history, Peyton Wilson. He won the Bednarik Award and the Butkus Award. So that's a big hole in their lineup. But it's a pretty solid program. They're going to win 7 to 9 games every year. I can't remember their coach's name, but remember Jimmy Himes? Was it him that Tennessee, he kept saying Tennessee was going to hire? It was either him or Jeff Brom.
No, Jimmy Himes went on ESPN and said that Jeff Brom was our new coach.
That's right. I remember this cat's name kept coming up, and I can't even remember it. And everybody especially including me, did not approve of that. But guy's probably a pretty decent coach. I mean, they win 7, 8, 9 games every year over there under his leadership. So, I mean, they're looked at Athlon, they're number 25 in the preseason Athlon rankings. So it's going to be, it's just so many unknowns in this game. Yeah, Tennessee might go out and put 42 or 49-point win on UTC next weekend. I would hope or assume. But you just don't know because you're going up a level, you're going up a division, you're playing a Power Five team on your first. It's not a road game, but it kind of you almost want to consider it a road game. So there's a lot of unknowns with it. So it's Tennessee's first test of the year. A lot of eyeballs will be on it to see how Nico performs, how the defensive backfield performs. What's the O line and D line? Are they going to live up to the hype? And Tennessee in the Athlon rankings is 13. NC State's 25. And according to Athlon, NC State's going to be in the mix for the ACC title game if things play out their way. They got a lot of unknowns. Like you said, they're starting a new quarterback, Grayson McCall. They lost a lot on defense, but they've got a solid defense. So I guess for both teams, it's the first big test of the year. So I would say that's my most intriguing game, just simply because there are so many unknowns with this team, and it's the first of the season. So you get a pretty big test right out of the gate.
I agree. NC State's coach is Dave Doran, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he not the guy that was at Maryland that pretty much got ran out because he killed a kid in practice?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Do you know that story?
I remember it, yes.
That kid had like a heat stroke or something in practice.
Mm-hmm. And he just kept making him go. Not a good, whoever the coach was, that was not good. And that seems to happen more and more these days, unfortunately. But all right, Harbin-I's most intriguing game, NC State. Trap game. Now, this is Harb's bread and butter right here. He loves a good trap game. So I'm going to let him go first. Out of all the games on the schedule, what's a trap game that Tennessee could fall into?
It depends on how we perform going into this game. This is one that I've had circled as a trap game ever since the schedule came out. If we do start 4-0, which I think the odds of that are probably around 50%, maybe a hair less. If we do start off 4-0, for whatever reason, that at Arkansas game, and Arkansas is bad. I understand that, but we're within the Josh Heupel regime. Just about every year, we have beat somebody that we probably shouldn't, and we've lost a game that we should have won.
Yep.
And on paper, that at Arkansas game is not scary at all. You get a bye week to prepare for it. They're not good. Sam Pittman may get fired this year. They just lost KJ Jefferson in the portal. We're supposed to be good. That's a game on paper you win by 3 touchdowns. But if we start 4-0 or theoretically lose to NC State and win at Oklahoma, I don't think this team gets caught looking ahead. But directly after that Arkansas game, you have Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and Mississippi State at home, and then at Georgia. That is the heart of your schedule. And I just feel like for 3-1 or 4-0 going to that Arkansas game, we might overlook them a hair. That's the only game on here that I would consider a trap game. And under Josh Heupel, we've just not been very good on the road. That's a fact. But we've been dominant at home. So that's why I'm not going to put like a Kentucky or a Mississippi State or a UTEP, for example, as a trap game because they're at home. But if we start 2-2, there's no trap games. So
yeah, yeah, you're right. So, full disclosure here, Harb and I did not talk about this before we recorded. So I had, when I was thinking about this, I had Mississippi State because it was sandwiched between Kentucky, which is a game that comes after Florida, Alabama. So you got Florida, Alabama, Kentucky with a bye week mixed in there. But then Mississippi State is between Kentucky and Georgia. But the more I thought about it, it's at home. It's not. Tennessee just doesn't lose at home under Josh Heupel very much, especially to an opponent like Mississippi State. And you dive deeper into Mississippi State, they've got a lot of issues. New coach, new quarterback. They're probably going to score some points under Jeff Lebby. They only return 2 starters on defense. What's their defense going to look like going into November? They're ranked number 63 by Athlon to start the season. So then I pushed them away. That's not my trap game. My trap game is the Hogs. And I think here's my rationale for it. Tennessee should either be 3-1 or 4-0 heading into that game. Okay? In my opinion, which I'm not spoiling my schedule look ahead, but I think Tennessee beats NC State. I just think they're a better football program right now. Oklahoma game, another story for another time. So they're either going to be 3-1, 4-0, getting ready to play Florida, Alabama, Kentucky. Okay, so you got to go to Arkansas, who, like you said, not very good, not the worst team you're going to play all year, but they're not great. They've got a lot of issues too. New offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino. What's that going to look like? New QB1, Taylon Green from Boise State. Athlon has him ranked number 46 to start the year. So, and I'm going to be there. So, I just think that's got all the ingredients on the road. The one reason I think it may not be is because it's not going to be an early kickoff. It's going to be 3:30. It's going to be that afternoon time slot or not. It's going to be 3:30, 4:30, 6 or 8, 6 to 8. You see a lot of upsets at noon, or you tend to see more at noon. So I don't know. I don't think Tennessee loses this game because I think they're better than Arkansas. But it's where it lands on the schedule. If Tennessee is 4-0, their eyes are going to be this big looking ahead to Florida, Alabama, Kentucky coming up. Those are 3 huge games. Imagine going 4-0, going to Arkansas and winning to go 5-0. You should beat Florida. That's 6-0 heading into Bama. I mean, it's huge. It'll be like the 22 game all over again. And so everything's right in front of Tennessee. Even if you lose that Bama game at that point, everything's right in front of you. But they're kids. They're 18, 22 years old, most of them. So that can happen. Will it happen? I don't think so, but it could. So that's my trap game is Arkansas, just like you. I really wanted to go with Mississippi State, but every time I looked at it, you can't because I don't think that's a loss. I mean, there's NC State's better than State, Arkansas's better than State. There's a lot of other teams on the schedule that is a lot better than Mississippi State, and I just don't think they pose that big of a threat. If it was on the road in Starkville, maybe, but not at Neyland. So I'm going with Arkansas. That's my trap game.
What's your next question, sir?
So let's do win-loss preview. Now, I don't know what you want to do. I'll let you do however you want it. If you want to go game by game, I'm not previewing every team. Last year we went through this whole rigmarole of previewing every game. I'm not doing that. That gets very long-winded. If you want to look more in depth at every team, there's plenty of places to look for that. We're just going to do our win-loss preview. So what do you think, Harbin? By the way, the over-under I saw was 8.5 wins for Tennessee.
Yeah, but that's honestly probably like minus 175.
Yeah, I didn't see.
It was probably on a site that didn't allow whole numbers because most of the ones I've seen is non-flat.
Gotcha.
Um,
I did see that Tennessee was plus 3,500 to win the national championship. That might be worth a few dollars to throw down on. You never know. Nico might be the next coming of Deshaun Watson or something. I don't know. Hopefully, he doesn't behave like Deshaun Watson, but
oh,
he might play like Deshaun Watson at Clemson. So you never know. I mean, I've heard reading, listening to podcasts that they are super high on that kid at quarterback right now. Just the way he's performed, managing the offense here in the spring, or sorry, the fall camp. I've not heard much negative at all, which is when you have a true freshman. For all intents and purposes, he's not a true freshman, but he's a freshman quarterback by on paper. You have some growing pains, and they still may once they get into the game situation. But you've not heard anything about the offense being way behind the defense like it normally is this time of year. So, and Tennessee's defense is not bad. It's the secondary that worries me, but the front seven for Tennessee's pretty solid. So if they're going up against offense one and offense one is moving the football, then something to think, something good to think about that might be happening. But what's your thoughts on the schedule? Win loss, break it down for us. What do you think?
I think we start. I think we start the season off with a good, solid win against Chat. What a lot of people don't understand is Chattanooga, I believe, is ranked seventh or eighth in the preseason FCS poll, and they're number one predicted across the board to win the SoCon.
I'm gonna be
Uh,
honest. I didn't know there was a poll for that. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, um, they're a good football team. So people think we're going to go out there and win 65-3. You're probably wrong. I would like to be wrong, but I think UTC might hang around for a quarter and a half. Obviously, talent and depth prevails. I think we win that game around like 48-17 ish. I think they score a couple on us. They're going to be good. They're going to be a contender for the FCS national championship. Um, Probably make it to the quarters or the semis in that. Anyway, should take care of business in that. Hope we knock some of that off-season rust off. Then we go to Charlotte, play the Wolfpack. Um, I think this game is a damn barn burner. I really do. The way I envision this game going, well, this would give me a lot of hope for the future. Um, we get down early, like maybe about 10 in the first half, and big defensive play, lots of spark or something, and we win by less than a touchdown. The score I have in my head for some reason is like 31-27. A lot closer than it should be on paper. Now, those of you
Okay.
looking for your blowout game, here's the one. Kent State is ranked as one of the worst FBS teams in the entire country. I think they're third or fourth from the bottom. You can fact check that if you want to, but they're ranked like 118th or something like that. Last I checked. Here's your blowout game. Backups will be in early. This is probably your 50 burger game.
And it's a night game.
And yeah, that's gonna get ugly. That's a
That could get ugly.
by the way, that's a waste of a night game.
Yeah, I don't understand that one, but
Throw that out there. That should be a 4:30 kickoff.
the
Then we go.
UTC game should have been at night. But
Yeah, I agree with that. Season opener. Then we go to Norman, and in my opinion, this and North Carolina State are the two most important games on the schedule. Uh, how we start this year is going to have a lot to do with our season, momentum wise, in my opinion. Um, I think this game is somewhat of a shootout. I think these teams are very evenly matched. Unfortunately, we're playing there. I think we lose a nail biter.
To Oklahoma.
I do. As much as I've talked myself into us starting 4-0, non biasly with a level head, I just don't see it. And Oklahoma fans may be looking at this game like, okay, since it's at home, we probably got them. But if they're like, if this is in Neyland, we're not winning. Um, this game could go either way. I'd love to eat my words. I just think we lose. I think 34-30 was what I wrote down. That just randomly popped in my head. And then we get an off week and we go to Arkansas. So 3 straight weeks away from the friendly confines. If we lose to Oklahoma, we beat the shit out of Arkansas. That's how I look at it, especially coming off a bye week. So in this hypothetical, 45-20, orange and white in Fayetteville. So now we're 4-1. Finally get back home. Get the Gators coming to town. This is my stone cold lock of the season. Write it down, clip it, whatever you have to do.
I'm topping it in.
We beat Florida by 3 scores. The Tennessee Volunteers will beat Florida by 3 scores. This team remembers what happened last year. I remember what happened last year because I drove down there to watch it in person.
I was about to say, you were there right in the middle. You and my uncle were there right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Florida has the hardest schedule in the country. It may be the hardest college football schedule I've ever seen.
Many are saying.
Hang on, I'm looking up who they play before us. So actually, Florida has the easiest part of their schedule directly before they play us.
That's how it's always been. It's and that so going back to like the 90s when this game decided the SEC East and possibly the national champion, Florida would play like Florida International and Louisiana School for the Blind and whoever before they played Tennessee. And Tennessee would always play a cupcake, but then they would have somebody mixed in there, UCLA, or go on the road to get some, I don't know, pick somebody. Most of the time it was cupcakes, but every now and then it wouldn't be. But yeah, Florida didn't play anybody. And it's crazy how this game's in October and they're still not playing anybody before us.
No, they do. Don't get me wrong. It's not an easy path before us, but
right.
it's
I know what you're saying.
Easier. So
it's not like they're playing Bama and Georgia before they play us, though.
And keep in mind, Florida's probably not going to be very good on top of this very hard schedule. They have Miami, first game of the year. Miami could go either way. They could go 6-6. They could go 11-1. Nobody knows about Miami. Somehow they're highly favored to make the playoff, but also Mario Cristobal is favored to be the first coach fired. That should tell you as much as you need to know about Miami.
He's not very smart.
No, he's not. And then they play Samford. That's their one cupcake game of the season. Play Samford. Then they have A&M coming to Gainesville. I consider that a toss-up. A&M's probably better, but it's in Gainesville. And then Florida travels to Mississippi State. I'd also consider that game a toss-up. Florida's better than them, but it's in Starkville. You never know. And then they have a little SEC Big 12 challenge, UCF coming to town. UCF could be very good. They got KJ Jefferson, Gus Malzahn. They won 9 or 10 games last year. Never know. And then that's when they come to Knoxville. So
where's the UCF game at? Is it at Ben Hill Griffin?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Well, Florida's the bottom team, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that means they're home.
Yeah. So Florida at worst, well, this would be like catastrophic for them, but they could be 1-4 coming into Knoxville. I don't think that's the case. They could, I think best case scenario, they come out of that stretch 4-1. Personal opinion. If they
Yeah,
are,
I think
that's
that's accurate.
that's best case scenario. You split, in my opinion, with A&M or you go 2 out of 3 with Miami, A&M, and Mississippi State. That's best case scenario. More than likely, they're going to be 3-2. I think that's probably the favorite when they're coming to Knoxville. And they may be battered. I don't know. Um, I think we just take care of business against them. We don't have those demons against Florida at home anymore. Now we still need. Now, if this was at Florida, I'd mark it down as an automatic loss until I see differently. But I think we exercised those demons 2 years ago. We're not scared of them anymore. 38-21.
I like
38.
it.
Yeah, and I feel extremely confident about that. So following that, you have the Alabama Crimson Tide coming to town. And on top of this game being Tennessee, Alabama, as big as it's been the last few years, on top of what it has been for a century, um, there's a lot of variables at hand with this game. Um, could they go 12-0 under Kalen DeBoer? Could they go 8-4? Nobody knows. They have a couple tests before us. They play at Wisconsin, which they should win that game. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be world beaters this year. So they should start the season 3-0. But then Georgia goes to Tuscaloosa. And I feel very strongly when I say this. If you are a Tennessee fan, you are pulling for Georgia in that game. And I'll tell you why. I don't think I've ever pulled for Kirby Smart and Georgia in a game since they've been good. But do you really want Alabama, who plays at Vandy and has South Carolina at home directly after those 2 games? Do you really want a 6-0 Alabama that beat the #1 team in the country coming into Knoxville? I don't. I would much rather Georgia go in there and beat them and maybe knock them off their pedestal just a little bit. I don't think that outcome changes our mindset at all, but I think it would definitely change theirs. Because Nick Saban's still in the building. Best thing that can happen is Alabama lose a couple in the first half of the season, and
Right.
Saban before and act like, "Hey man, you ain't doing your job," whatever. With all that being said, I think this game's a shootout. I think it's an instant classic. Jalen Milroe is still there. I think he's going to be better than he was last year. I think this game could be almost as good as the 2022 game. This game's a coin flip, but I'm going to go slightly homer and say that we win this game just because it's at home. 45-41. I think it comes down to the last minute, just like it did 2 years ago. Vols take 2 out of 3 from the Tide.
Start a little home win streak against the Tide.
Well, home win streak. That's right. Then you get a bye week, you get to rest up, and then Kentucky comes to town. I don't want to hear about Brock Vandergriff and his cell phone clip on his belt and his 90s country jeans and his camouflage jacket. This is still Kentucky, and we are still Tennessee. And there's only one thing that happens when those 2 teams meet in Neyland Stadium. It's at night, and we beat the dog shit out of them. 38-13, but it's not that close.
Don't forget, we're honoring it's Champions Night again. So not only are we going to beat the shit out of Kentucky, like we always do, but we're also going to be parading around the SEC basketball championship trophy. Then they're going to bring out the creme de la creme, the baseball national championship trophy. Let's see, the Lady Vols softball won the SEC championship this year. So there's going to be all these trophies out there, and the one that Kentucky fans are going to hate the most is that basketball one. And remember,
And
too,
maybe the most important one of them all, they're going to honor is it the 1980 or 1981 men's basketball SEC championship?
I haven't seen that, but there you go.
Well, they
It's
did it.
just
Well, they did it 2 years ago. The reason I say that is Big Dave Minot, father of Jake Minot, will be on the field,
oh,
and
nice.
he was 2 years ago.
Oh, that's right, because he came over to the tailgate, I
Yeah,
think.
he was on that Dale Ellis team.
Um,
But
I just love. Remember 2 years ago, they brought that SEC tournament championship trophy out, and Uros Plavich is just holding that thing up right in front of the Kentucky fans. That's what set me off in the box that night when I had my meltdown with the guy who I kind of think wanted to fight me up there because I kept saying, "Can you imagine living or being from Kentucky?" And Euros set it off by parading that trophy around right in front of the Kentucky fans, and I lost it. I hate Kentucky. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. Total domination in that game.
I can't stop laughing thinking about it, how stupid they are.
I would assume that'll be when we wear our not dark mode jerseys.
Probably.
That or the Mississippi State game because that's homecoming. Segueing into Mississippi State, so now we're at 7-1. It's homecoming. Mississippi State's coming to town. Like you said, they're projected to be slightly better than Vandy. That's not very good. We may come out slightly sluggish due to all the homecoming festivities. We still handle business. I've got like a 35-16 in mind. Kind of go through the motions a little bit. Got Georgia on our mind. Ray Charles.
You can say that.
Then we go back to Athens. By the way, that is a place that I will never go again. We ain't got enough to hang with them.
Not yet.
We just don't. And it is what it is. This game was at home. It could maybe get interesting. I still wouldn't say that we would beat them at home. I think this game goes slightly better than it did 2 years ago, though. 31-17 Dogs. I think we hang for a little bit, then they just kind of wear us down. We show glimpses of being able to hang, but we're just not there yet.
No.
And then after that, we come back home against UTEP. That'll be a game that the walk-ons get to play in, more than likely. It's probably going to be your second 50 burger of the season. 52-13. And then we go to Neyland West to end the season. We don't even have to talk about that one.
No, we never do.
That just is what it is.
At least they've got a nice semi-completed stadium.
I've got the Vols going 10-2. And I feel strongly about that. But that is all contingent, like I said earlier, on the North Carolina State game. If we lose that North Carolina State game, you are eyeballing down the barrel of 8-4. It could just snowball effect, and it is what it is at that point. But I don't think that happens. And if we do win that game, I think we go 10-2. And I think that's probably good enough to get us in the playoff. It should be, especially with wins again. Well, depending on how North Carolina State's season goes, if they go on to win 9 or 10 games, that helps us a lot. With wins over North Carolina State, Alabama, I think a key is to not get embarrassed in Athens. I think that's got a lot to do with it. Because outside of that, as weird as this sounds, our schedule is not that brutal. that makes sense.
Right.
Two of our three hardest games are on the road. I don't know. I think if you go 2 out of 3 with, well, you have to win one of Oklahoma, Alabama, and Georgia. You have to get in the playoff. Obviously, 9-3 is not going to cut it. So that's my take. I got 10-2. Um, I hope you don't go word for word what I said because this would be really boring. But
It'd be on par for this show because that's what we've done on every other topic.
still second on everything. I would have just said something different for the sake of
Yeah.
the show.
So Tennessee, here's my preview. Tennessee beats Chattanooga. Good tune-up game for everybody involved. We go home happy. We win by 5 or 6 touchdowns. We talked about NC State. Very intriguing game, but I think Tennessee is a better football program. That's what I'm going off of. We don't know what the teams actually look like at this point, but I think Tennessee wins this game. Kent State, Tennessee wins this game. I looked them up while you were talking. Athlon has them ranked number 132. They're very bad, not good. So Tennessee's 3-0 heading to Norman. Oklahoma's more than likely going to be 3-0. They play Houston, Tulane, and somebody. I don't know who going in. So not a cupcake schedule, but Tulane's not a cupcake. Houston's definitely not a cupcake. I would assume they win those games, but you never know in college football. But I wish we could pick this game, and we might change. This is a preview show. Things change during the season. This game's over a month away from where we're at right now. Well, exactly a month away. We're recording on August 21st. This game, September 21st. So a lot could change in a month with both teams. But I saw somebody tweeted, I can't remember who it was, that they've got this gut feeling that the Oklahoma game is going to end up like the LSU game in 22. It's kind of going to be Tennessee's coming out party. I know we'd beaten Florida before that game 2 years ago, but I don't think NC State's our coming out party unless we just dog stomp them. I think Tennessee goes on the road and beats Oklahoma. I'm not very sure about that. Not very positive feeling. Something in my gut is telling me that Tennessee wins that game under Josh. I know we don't play well on the road under Heupel sometimes. It's going to be a tough environment. I've been there. I went when we played there in 2014. We kind of hung around with them for a while. They ended up running away with it. It's not an easy place to play. Great football venue, good tailgating outside. Met some cool guys when we were there in 2014. Hope they're still around and able to go to the game. They were older, so that's been 10 years ago. Hope those guys are still there. They told us a cool story about they one of them on a flagpole had an ABC flag. You know, the banners that they used to put on they still probably do. You know what game or what channel the game is on that day. They have it hanging there on the stadium. And I said, "Where did y'all get that at?" And they said, "Oh, we stole it." And I said, "What do you mean you stole it?" And he said, "Oh, well, we were playing Nebraska in 1970 something, and we beat them, and we rushed the field, and I just took it off the wall and carried it out of the stadium." And they fly it at every game since. Just a white flag, ABC Network logo on it. So don't know if they're still out there or not, but those are some cool guys. They let us tailgate with us or with them. I don't know. I think Tennessee beats Oklahoma and goes 4-0. But then we go to Arkansas. Here's where your trap game comes into play. You're 4-0. You're on the road. You've got a bye week sandwiched in between the Oklahoma game and the Arkansas game. So you got a week off to heal up. But this game could be close for a little while, but I think Tennessee's way too much for Arkansas. And I will be there, so I expect a win. Tennessee wins 5-0. I think we beat Florida, and I'm not going to dive too much into this, but Tennessee, if we didn't do must wins, but this is Tennessee's must win game of the year. They have to beat Florida at home. Florida's not good. They're down. We need to kick them while they're down. Tennessee has to win this football game. I'm not going to go out and say we win it by 3 scores. That rarely happens in rivalry games, but I sure hope we do and just pound them into oblivion. But I think Tennessee wins that game. So we're 6-0 in my book, heading to play Alabama at home. I don't think we beat Alabama. I don't know what to make of Alabama. I mean, they've got a lot of returning players from last year's team, so they're going to be good. But new head coach, new way of doing things. I know Saban's still kind of hanging around a little, but I just don't know that Tennessee's ready to beat a team like Alabama and Georgia just quite yet. They're almost there. We talked about it with recruiting. They're getting closer. I just don't think they're there yet. So 6-1, and I already blew it with Kentucky. Like, there's no way we lose that game. And if we do, we'll have to go back and replay this clip from this podcast. But I expect to beat Kentucky every time we play them, no matter where it's at. And this year will be no different. We're better than Kentucky, and I hope they're struggling when they come to town, and we just beat the dog snot out of them, and maybe they fire what's his name, and then they go back to winning 3 and 4 games every year. Mississippi State, I think that's a win. So we're what now? 7-1, 8-1. Going to Georgia, we're not ready, like you said, to beat Georgia, especially on the road. It's 8-2. UTEP blowout, 9-2. Vandy blowout, 10-2. I honestly think I don't think you can lose 3+ games and make the playoffs. That Tennessee will have, and even on Athlon on their preview, Tennessee has an outside chance to be a playoff contender. If you go 10-2, I don't know what the bubble would be considered, because this is our first year going through this process with a 12-team playoff. But I think Tennessee would be one of those bubble teams that either gets in or don't at 10-2. It's going to be, I don't know. I mean, we just got to, it depends on what everybody else does, but I think 10-2 puts you in a good position to make that playoff.
I would imagine that 10-2 with this schedule gets you in, because you get the 4 major conferences champion is automatically in, no matter what, and then the best group of 5 teams in. So there's 5. Outside of that, you have 7 at-large teams. And how many teams in the country do you really think would be better than us if we went 10-2 with this schedule?
I'm guessing not many.
Excluding the conference champions and the group of 5
right
team. So at that point, you're looking at, for example, let's just say Ohio State wins the Big Ten. You're looking at Oregon. You're looking at, I don't think Michigan, but potentially. And then ACC. The ACC is probably going to be a 1-bid team. Probably. But if Miami somehow goes like 11-1 and Clemson goes 11-1 or 12 or 11-2 and losing the conference championship, maybe, you never know. I don't see that happening, but whatever. The Big 12, you would think they're a 1-bid conference. The new look Big 12. There's probably going to be bare minimum 3 SEC teams in the playoff, in my opinion. I think for the most part, the 2 that play in the conference championship game are 100% going to be in. And then either us or potentially Ole Miss or Alabama. Texas, maybe. I don't see them being that good this year. I'm in the minority on that. But 10-2, Tennessee going 10-2 is in the playoff. 9-3 is not. That's your barometer for the season.
I saw some say that if you go 9-3, you still got an outside chance depending on who you beat. It's just a lot of losses. And I think the only way that happens is if you have a 2007 type season where a bunch of teams have lost 1 and 2 and 3 games. Maybe that equals it out. I don't see that happening. If Tennessee goes 10-2 and makes the playoffs, what seed do you think they are? Because obviously they're not going to be in the top four. You're going to have your
They will
your
be
SEC, Big 12, ACC. Probably those guys are going to be up there in the top four.
if they go 10-2 and their losses are at Oklahoma and at Georgia, for example, or Bama at home and at Georgia, whichever way you want to look at it. Somewhere between 9 and 11. Personally,
So that would
because
mean we go on the road.
well, actually, the group of five best, I think they're penciling in as the automatic 12 seed.
Okay.
Uh, I think I could be
I
wrong.
haven't I haven't read much into it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, depending on what everybody else does, I don't know. I think if we go 10-2, you're somewhere that if the group of five team is automatically number 12, um, somewhere between 8 and 11 is my guess.
So if you're say Tennessee was the 8 seed, they would host the 9 seed. Would that not be crazy? 8 versus 9 in Neyland Stadium in December.
God, that cool.
Just wild. I know. I mean, there's a lot of football to be played. This may not happen, but we're previewing the season, hypothesizing here. If you're the 7 seed, you host. If you're the 6 seed, you host. If you're the 8 seed, you host. If you're the 5 seed, you host. Tennessee goes 10-2. I don't see them being a 5 or a 6 seed. I see more of a 7, 8, 9 seed, 10-ish at the least. 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9, 6 versus 11. So you're looking at probably that 8, 9, 7, 10 game, probably. I don't see us falling to the 11. I guess it just depends on what goes on, but keep
Just
that in mind as the season goes on, that if Tennessee's in a position to make the playoffs, and they do, there's home site games in the first round. So Tennessee could potentially host a playoff game in Neyland Stadium, and I believe that is Friday, December 20th or Saturday, December 21st. So
imagine December 21st. You wake up, you hop in the truck at 8:30 in the morning. You drive
what?
to Knoxville,
What?
set up about 9:30. You're there all day. You
Oh,
get
it's a
a
night game.
you get a 6 p.m. Well, probably 7 because it'll be prime time. You get a 7 p.m. kickoff, and the Penn State Nittany Lions are coming to town.
Oh man.
And you get two of the most classic uniforms in college football. You get the orange tops, white pants versus I
All
would
white.
assume they'll be wearing all white.
It's all they wear.
It's an orange out with a chance to go to the I guess that would be the semifinals.
It would be the quarterfinals. And the quarterfinals are either the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl game, or the Sugar Bowl. I don't know what, I don't know what games are where, but
I don't know if we are physically or mentally prepared as a fan base to host a college
but
playoff game.
you're right. I mean, we may not be. It may be a shit show, but
No, but I
it
think that place would be absolutely electric.
that's what I mean by shit show. Um, but it would signal we've talked on here a lot, off season toward the end of last season that, and I talked with some friends the other day. Tennessee's floor to them this year is 9 wins. Anything less than 9, they indicated the words to me were not a good season, unacceptable. I don't know that I necessarily 100% agree with that. I think you could go 8-4 and get away with it this year just because you're starting a freshman quarterback, a lot of new faces. But I mean, it's going to happen every year anymore, to be honest. So, but we said it. This program's at a floor now of 8 to 9 wins is the floor. They shouldn't go anywhere lower now. If they do, something's going on. But winning 10 games in the regular season, making the playoffs, and even winning a game, but making the playoffs shows that this is a legit program that you're going to have to contend with, especially while Nico's here. But the way they're recruiting quarterbacks, it may be like that for a decade. But it would signal, and it's time for Tennessee to do this, that we're here, that we're somebody to reckon with now. We're not just a 6 to 8 win program that might cause you some problems. Like, this is a legit contender in the SEC, a legit contender on the national stage. I'm not saying a championship contender like I talk about in baseball and basketball. I'm just saying they're a player out there that you need to think about. And they've not been for 15 years, maybe close to 20 almost. And that would signal. That's why winning that NC State game is so important. Go to Oklahoma and win that game. Like, if you want to be up there with those guys, and I think these guys think they should be, and I think they should be, you got to go win those games. You got to JWTDG and just win the game. And if they come out and slip up against NC State and Oklahoma, they basically got to win out to go 10-2. They do have to win out to go 10-2, and that's not going to happen. And then we're going to be staring at 9-3, 8-4, and it's kind of going to be a letdown because you're looking at going to the Citrus Bowl again or something like that. So I think it's really important for Tennessee to get off to a good start, win the games they're supposed to, first 3 games out of the gate, maybe go on the road and beat Oklahoma, beat Arkansas, and then see what happens. Beat Florida, see what happens against Bama and Georgia. You never know, especially Bama's at home, but it's almost getting time. I'm not saying the program is where they've got to go 10 wins. They can still get away with winning 8 and 9, but that's almost coming to an end especially with the way he's recruiting, especially at the quarterback position. But this is a big season for Tennessee, in my opinion. Heupel's fourth year now, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, fourth season. So he's starting to get his players in here. He's semi-recovering from losses of scholarships, which we're still dealing with. Tennessee's still, in a way, playing with an arm tied behind their back because of scholarship reductions that they're having to give back because of the moron Jeremy Pruitt. But it's time for them to start winning some games. They need to go on the road and take care of business. That's the next thing Heupel's got to do. He needs to go on the road and beat NC State. He needs to go on the road and beat Oklahoma if they want to be considered serious, legit program. So, and then see what happens. Go 10-2, and maybe you get in the playoffs. Maybe you host a game at Neyland in December, 4 days before Christmas or 5 days before Christmas. And then you go on the road the next week on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day and play in a big bowl game. See what happens. I'm not saying this stuff will happen. Now, I'm obviously predicting it, so I kind of am saying it, but there's a lot of unknowns with this team, so there's going to be a lot to play out. But if you look at them on paper, they've got a lot of momentum on and off the field, and they need to take advantage of it. That's all I'm saying. And I'm done.
I agree with you. You can get all these 5+ stars or your high 4s or your regular 5 stars, whatever you want to call it. You could have a top 7 recruiting class every year. Nobody's going to take you serious if you go 8-4, 9-3 every year. That's
Nope.
just a cold hard fact. 9-3 is not a failure of a season, by the way. I'm going to say
No.
that before the season starts. That way, if we do have 2 losses before Georgia, I can play this clip and go back to level headedness. I do think that's the barometer, though. If you go any lower, then yeah, the season was a disappointment. I think 10-2 is a slightly overachievement, maybe. I don't know. Like you said, there's a lot of uncertainties. I have a question for you.
Okay, fire away.
I'm asking you because I don't know the answer myself. If I were to tell you that Tennessee was to go 9-3, the wins and losses unknown, but we go 9-3, would you take it right now?
Yes,
You would?
I would. I would. But we don't know who the losses are, right?
What if theoretically the losses are Florida, Alabama, and Georgia?
I
Would you?
would be I would begrudgingly take that, but
I wouldn't
I
take
would
that.
I would feel because you still got a chance to win a bowl game and win 10 games, but I would feel like you left something on the table losing to Florida at home.
Well, if that happens, we start off the season 5-0 and finish 9-3 with losses to your three biggest rivals. I'm not taking that. I would.
Yeah, that's why I said I would begrudgingly take it because I don't want to I don't think I'm at that point where I want to be mad yet with 9 wins. Like, of course, some might say that they would go back to the 2016 season when I was not happy, but I wasn't Fire Butch Jones mad when we won 9 games in 2016 because we hadn't done it in so long. We won 9 games in back-to-back years. I didn't feel like that was a fireable offense. Now looking back on it, it was
Yep.
a complete disaster. So, but I don't think we're in that same boat right now. Right now, but I would begrudgingly take it, but I would feel like we left something out there, and like you said, is like, man, we beat everybody, but we still can't beat our rivals, and that's been a thorn. Those 3 teams have been a thorn in this program's side for nearly 20 years.
I'll tell you right now, I would not take that. If somebody offered it to me right now, I would not take it. I would let the unknowns take over. I'm not. I will not.
Now,
I
if
will
it
not accept
was,
a loss to Florida this year. I'm not
I
accepting.
agree. I agree with that. Now, if you asked me this in 2025, I would absolutely not take it. I'm giving them a pass this one year because I still think this program's growing. But you're right. I losing to Florida this year, and if it happens, we might have double the viewers that we had on our podcast after we lost to Florida last year, which I think we near totaled over 700 or 800 total views, which for us is a lot. But we might double that because you and I and whoever else is on here will be extra pissed off. I promise you. Because I was pissed last year after we lost to Florida. I was not happy because I felt like we pissed down our leg, and we absolutely did. There's no feeling about it. If they lose to this Florida team this year, they're pissing away a golden opportunity, and it would just be unacceptable. That's why I begrudgingly took it, because I'm giving them a pass because I know we're in year 4 of Heupel, but it kind of feels like a new beginning with new quarterback and everything else going on. So if it was 2025, though, absolutely not. I might be starting to question Heupel at that point. All right. Well, I don't know how long we've been going here. It's been a while, so we'll zip through the rest of it. Tennessee recruiting, football recruiting, Harbin on fire right now.
Dally.
Um, I mean, we talked about it just a second ago, but got a big. I'm trying to pull it up here. Where'd it go? David Sanders Jr. out of Providence Day School, former home of one Grant Williams. He committed over this past weekend. He's the number 3 player nationally, number 1 at his position, number 1 in the state of North Carolina. Offensive tackle, 6'6", 290. That goes along with Douglas Utu, who we mentioned a few weeks ago, offensive tackle, 4-star, 6'4", 317. Just a lot of momentum. Who's the quarterback we just got? Where's his name? Oh, it's in a different class. Am I right or wrong? Yeah, 26 class is a quarterback, so we won't worry about him right now. But Tennessee's moved up to number 6 overall in the 2025 recruiting rankings. Big thing I focused on when we talked about it, when Walker asked the question a few weeks ago, is what does Tennessee need to do to compete in the SEC? I don't know if he meant now or later. They got to recruit offensive line, and he is recruiting offensive linemen to protect these 5-star stud quarterbacks that he's bringing in. Will all these quarterbacks stay? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, you're bringing in George McIntyre next year. The year after that, you're bringing in the other guy that's a 5-star. You got Nico on the roster right now. Creates a lot of competition, but he's also bringing in some studs around him, especially on the offensive line. So, Tennessee is on a heater right now on the recruiting trail. Agree or disagree?
Oh, absolutely. I feel extremely unprepared because I completely blanked on the 2026 quarterback's name.
I did
Um,
too. I can see him in my head.
yeah, anyway, getting him this early,
It's crazy.
granted that let's just hope that he doesn't decommit because it's still very early. Getting him this early is so huge for that class because he's going to help recruit. Like we could get some unreal wide receivers in that.
He's one of 2 commits in that class. Faison Brandon is out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Quarterback, 5-star, number 1 across the board at every player position. Also a tight end, a 3-star coming out of Nashville. Carson Sneed in the 26 class. So that's later on down the road. But you're right, that's huge. They got that anchor of that 26 class. A lot to build around. So let's see. Next thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought about it because I like it. Uh there's a lot going on since we've recorded last. We didn't really talk about it when Jordan was on last, but there's a lot of stuff going on with facilities at Tennessee right now. Danny White has come in and he's got the construction crews. He's keeping the construction companies in the Knoxville/East Tennessee area in business. The Neyland Stadium Entertainment District, Harbin, what's your thoughts on this? Good or bad?
For the university, good. For the common folk, that it's already a nightmare to park, gonna be really bad. Getting around and getting to the stadium is gonna be that much harder. With that being said, I'm kind of lumping this in with the partnership with Pilot. Um, do I love that one? No, not at all. I don't. But that's where college sports are going now, and I would rather be ahead of the curve than behind the curve.
Why don't you love the pilot deal?
I just don't think where this is leading is obviously Pilot's going to be on the 25-yard line, um, which that's better than Neyland Stadium turning into the Food City Center. It's
Right.
obviously way better than that. But it's going to lead to small patches on jerseys. It's going to lead to this. It's going to lead to that. And just in my humble and honest pea-brained opinion, I don't think sponsorships should be that heavy in college sports. Um, Now, if you have the Verizon banner and like you put Verizon on the cups and Thompson Bowling like I used to, that's fine, But as far as I'm concerned with the court and the jerseys, stay away. I think I'm just getting older. I'm starting to get grumpier. I do what it is.
You sound
Um,
like me about the jerseys.
but that's where all sports are heading. Unfortunately, it's going to make its way into the college setting, which I want to call this an amateur sport, but it's just not anymore.
It's
It's not.
not.
No, it's not at all. Um, but to help fund all of this NIL craziness, boosters, what have you, you're going to have to lean on these companies that you have alumni in or that own it, you know? Um, I'll take Pilot being on the 25 instead of it being Pilot Field or Stadium or whatever you want to call it. I'll take that. I just don't love it for the sake of college football. But circling back to my original point, that's where this is going, and I'm glad that we are ahead of the curve on it as opposed to trying to play catch up.
Well, that's what. So I was talking my buddy Walker. He don't listen to this show, and he probably won't ever hear this. But he's kind of been grumpy over the last year, year and a half, 2 years almost, that Tennessee's not doing enough to renovate the stadium for the common fan. Now he's not wrong; they haven't done much. But in order to fund these renovations, you have to do things like this entertainment district, the pilot sponsorship, like you talked about, the West Side club seats, or West Side club seats that they put in before the 22 season. Same thing in Thompson Bowling, doing things over there with Food City. That's helping pay for renovations. So they got to do this stuff up front in order to, and there's plans to do all this. It's just taking time to get there. I drive by Neyland Stadium pretty much every morning on my way to work, and that south end zone looks, if you haven't been there since last year, it's totally different. They've built a huge entrance there with steps and grass. I mean, it doesn't look the same when you pull into that bottom level of G10 next Saturday, Harbin. If you're with me or if you walk around, then you'll see like how different it looks. And that's the whole stadium's getting ready to change. There's going to be a plaza out there at gate 10. The south end zone's getting ready to be, and Danny White said it, in order to do that, in order to widen the concourses in the south end zone and put better bathrooms and restrooms in the stadium, they got to do this stuff, which is why that's why I'm a fan of it. Now, I'm not really thrilled about them taking G10 away because, one, that's an iconic parking tailgating spot, and two, we just moved back there. For those that didn't know, that's where tailgating is going to be this year for the YY8 crew. And we had to move from C8 because they're building dorms. Well, here, whenever this starts, the entertainment district is going to be right on top of G10, and that's gone. So where are we going to go? That was the question I asked the parking or the crew that got these parking passes. Like, where are we going to go after this? Like, where do we go? And the university claims that they'll replace this parking garage. What my question is, and I don't get paid for this, but where? That campus is packed full. Like, where does this go? I know they just built a new garage over next to G17 off of White Avenue, but that's 10 minutes away from the stadium, walking distance. I don't know. A lot of questions about that. I'm sure they've figured it out and they just haven't announced it yet. That's why Danny White gets paid the money he does. But it's going to be fascinating over the next 5 to 10 years to watch Tennessee. I mean, you just look at the baseball stadium. It's getting ready to change. Of course, they've run into some delays over there with, from what I've heard and been told, there was some electrical, they had to move some electrical stuff, and they hit a snafu with that. So it's going to delay some things that were supposed to be in place for the 25 season that'll get pushed back to 26. But baseball stadium is going to be brand new. Thompson Bowling Arena is getting ready to get some renovations. Sherry Parker Lee's getting ready to get some renovations. Neyland Stadium's going through renovations right now. Everything's getting renovated over there. So we're going to have top of the top athletic facilities once they're through with it. And the product on the fields are equaling out to that they deserve that stuff. So it's going to be the next 5 to 10 years at UT is going to be fascinating to see what it like. I hope I'm around in 10 years to see what it looks like. Because I remember going over there as a kid. I actually found, if I can find them here real quick, and if you can indulge me, I found some old pictures from back when I was in middle school and high school, and some of them, I hope I have them in here. I did find the Florida game, or sorry, the Alabama game from '96, which you probably can't see, but this was the view from the south end zone. Pretty cool. But here was the ones I liked. So I remember my dad taking me down there after school one day. They're building a north end zone upper deck. And I found these pictures. That's what it looked like. So this is all. I took it with I don't know what kind of camera it was. So there's that. There's the north end zone before they got it, the upper deck up. And here's from the other side, the upper deck going up. So pretty cool pictures. I just remember the campus from the 90s when none of that stuff was there. It's a totally different place, as it should be. That was 30 years ago. So my notes went away, Harbin, so I've lost what I was going to talk about next. So bear with me for a second. Okay. All right. So all that being said, a lot going on. Tailgating. So for those that are interested, many are asking, G10 next weekend. If you want to swing by, shoot me or Harb a text. We'll be there. I don't know where at this point. It's probably going to be a crapshoot that day. For those that remember when we were in G10 10, 11, 12 years ago, we used to park toward Thompson Bowling on the part that kind of slanted upwards. I don't know if, that's been 10 years ago since we parked over there. So I don't know if we'll get back in that same spot, if we'll go somewhere else. But hit us up, shoot me a text, those that have my number. Or if you don't, DM us. We'll tell you where we're going to be at or where we hope to be at, or just walk around the top till you find us. It's not very, you don't have to walk very much to find us. So if you can't get a hold of one of us, just walk around and we'll be there. Look for the Tennessee flag and the big blue Make America Again Trump flag. Can't miss it. So, Harbin, I mentioned earlier, I saw somebody this past weekend. Who do you think it was? It's a shocking, like I almost, I didn't know how to act when I saw this person.
Santa Claus.
It wasn't Santa. He's busy. He's trying to get ready for the Christmas season. He's also trying to get ready to, possibly he heard Tennessee might make the playoffs and host a playoff game. So he's a little busy around that time prepping.
My second guess would be John Gruden.
No, it wasn't Gruden. It was our long lost friend, Gavin Julian. I pull up in the Chick-fil-A line, to go line, and I look over to my right, and there's Gavin and his wife. We both kind of did a double take, looked at each other. My God, it's Gavin.
He's alive.
Take him off the milk carton.
We do have eyes on him.
We did see a very strange man, both of us did, on the corner of Broadway, wearing a kilt with a puppet waving at people. The puppet was waving, not the man, but the puppet was waving at people. Very interesting.
Was it from underneath the kilt?
No, it was not. Thankfully.
May or may not have been a puppet at that
point. Touche, but it was not from underneath the puppet that I saw.
Okay.
Honestly, wasn't looking, but now that you say that, I don't think it was. So for those that are wondering, we did see Gavin, or I saw Gavin. And there was a witness in the truck with me that saw Gavin. So my cousin Reagan was with me, and she's like, "Who's that?" I said, "That's Gavin." Years and years and years ago, he was on this podcast, and then he just quietly faded away. Where is he now? Now we know he's still around. Gavin, you're welcome back anytime. Hope you're listening. We miss you. You got a hater and loser of the week, Harbin?
I do.
Who you got?
I do. My hater and loser this week is at Red Dead Fred on Twitter. His name's Fred. And he's
what Red Dead Fred do?
This man posted on Twitter, not quote, "I cannot stand the quote, no weddings during football season.
Oh, this guy.
Crowd anymore. Grow up. You're 26. As a 26-year-old, shut up, you damn nerd.
Yeah.
Segueing into the, yeah, like whatever girl that you want to be into you is not going to go to a wedding with you just because you tweeted that. Like, quit trying, Quit trying to have the unpopular opinion. It's a hassle. It's a hassle on everybody. Um, and with college football now, there's 2 bye weeks. It's not hard. Uh, but that segues into another point. October 12th, 2024 is the day that the most weddings are scheduled all year.
That's dumb.
Have you seen the college football slate?
I
Right now?
have.
It's Tennessee, Florida, Ole Miss, LSU, Oregon, Ohio State, and there's another huge game that's escaping me right now. Um, I'm just letting you know. If you're getting married on October 12th and you invited me, I'm not coming.
No one's invited me to a wedding on that day, so I'm in the clear.
Yeah,
Let's see. That Saturday, these are rankings as of now. Ohio State at Oregon, number 2 versus 3. Number 6, Ole Miss at 13, LSU. Number 8, Penn State at number 23, USC. Florida at Tennessee. I believe that's it of significance at this time. Oh, no, it's not. Number 4, Texas versus number 16, Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. So,
Could you imagine
I'm sorry. I would probably tell those people I'm not attending.
getting married on October 12th, 2024 would have to be worse than being from Kentucky?
It can't be people from the South. Honestly, it's got to be like the West Coast and Northeast, and
Probably.
I would hope so.
Those
But
people are.
it's got to be somebody around here though.
So yeah, Red Dead Fred is my hater and loser.
That's a
Um,
good one.
he needs to grow up. We've all grown up. He needs to grow up.
Yeah, he's a loser.
He's a nerd.
I think I called him a beta on Twitter. I don't know that he saw it or even cared, but
Beta move.
so so I've been looking forward to this one, especially since last Saturday. But I've talked myself out of giving this person a hater and loser of the week. So I was going to give it to Nick Bain, Harbin. I don't know. Did you hear about what happened to poor little Bain on Saturday night?
I don't know, actually.
You may have. You may have seen a Snapchat, but I heard there was a video going around. But we played in the Carter High School alumni baseball game Saturday night, and yours truly pitched 2 innings. I paid for it the next couple days with a stiff back and sore legs. My arm wasn't very sore, as sore as I thought it would be, but um, poor little Bain comes up to bat against me. And I got him down 0-2, 1-2. He battled, got it to 2-2, 2-2, maybe 3-2. I can't remember. And I threw the old slurve up there at him, Harbin. The knees buckled. I could see it. The ball halfway there. Bain's knees buckled. Shoulders started twitching a little bit. That bat just couldn't get off of his shoulders. Rung him up looking. Backwards K for Bain. But the reason I'm not giving him, not really hater, but loser of the week, he did catch for both teams because we really only had 2 catchers. So he caught for both teams, sent me a Snapchat the next morning or Monday, and he was like, "You're welcome." And he had bruises all up and down his arm from blocking sliders and curveballs in the dirt and putting his body on the line. So the more I thought about it, I couldn't give Bain hater and loser of the week, even though I caught him looking. Some would say I might should be, if I'm doing that, like I might maybe should be hater and loser because I gave up. So listen to this line. Pretty good line. I'm not trying to brag, but 2 innings. I'm 40 years old. I don't pitch regularly anymore. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit. Pretty good, right?
Not bad.
But I gave up 2 runs on a 2-run homer to a kid who just got through playing, who just graduated. So, and the kid works for me. It makes it even worse. Good kid, though. But as soon as I threw it, I knew that was going to be trouble. And then he hit it. And as soon as it left his bat, the words, I looked right at Bain, I think, or was it Bain or I can't remember who was catching. I said, "Uh-oh." I turned around and looked, and that ball, if you're familiar with Allen Grove Field, it was into the trees. It was not it was a no doubter, as they call it. Anyways, we ended up losing 5-3 to my team, but it was fun to get back out on the field. Carter alumni game.
Or
My hater and loser of the week is NASCAR, the sanctioning body NASCAR. Not necessarily the sport, but the sanctioning body.
we're gonna get
So
contentious right here.
you're what?
We're gonna get contentious right here.
So Jake Minot, listener to the show, he'll appreciate this. Big racing fan. But I've got a bone to pick with NASCAR, and I'm getting sick of it. So a couple weeks ago, they raced at Richmond Motor Speedway or International Speedway. I can't remember what they're calling it now. Richmond Speedway. They're in Virginia. Austin Dillon, driver of the famous number 3 car. It's not the Goodwrench Chevrolet anymore. I think he was in Bass Pro Shops that week, but he's not won in 2 years. His papaw's Richard Childress, owner of the team. So he's leading, got a really good car, probably first, second, third best car in the field. Some would argue it was the best car. He's leading late in the race. There's a caution. They have to go to a green white checker. He has a horrible restart. Goes to second. Joey Logano takes the lead. Logano's pulling away, going on the last lap. Going into the final turn, Austin Dillon dive bombs Logano, just rear ends him, knocks him up the track. It gets Austin Dillon loose. Now, I didn't have a problem with that. But Austin Dillon gets passed by Denny Hamlin, and Austin Dillon proceeds to turn his car straight to the left and send Denny Hamlin into the wall. He wins. So NASCAR they don't make a decision right then. They don't even make a decision on Monday. They wait all the way till Wednesday, let him keep the win, but strip him of his playoff eligibility, Austin Dillon. So then this Sunday, they have a race at Michigan International Speedway around the Detroit area. And this is my big bone to pick with NASCAR. So it's kind of two things in one. When I was growing up, and some older people that are listening to this would appreciate this, you went to church, you got home from church to eat lunch, NASCAR race was on, 1:00. That doesn't happen anymore. These races are starting at 3:30, 4:00. Well, it happens to them all the time. They start at late in the afternoon, and what happens? These late afternoon thunderstorms are popping up, and they're killing and ruining the races. And it happened again this weekend. They had a huge crowd on hand at Michigan. Well, for Michigan, it was a huge crowd. And the race started at 2:30, 3:00. They didn't have not one, but 2 rain delays, and the second one pushes the race to Monday, and they started at 11:00 when nobody can watch it. Start the race at 1:00 so we can watch it on Sunday, not have to worry about it. I had to watch it like Tuesday night on tape delay. And another thing they need to do is go back to victory lane. Stop having the interviews at the start finish line after the race. Go back to victory lane. Let the driver get out of the car and let confetti rain all over him. Let them throw beer or Oak or Pepsi or Gatorade all over their crew. Go back to victory lane. Stop this bull crap at the start finish line. And the reason I say that is they had Joey Logano was so pissed off after he got wrecked at Richmond that he was doing donuts, which he was wrong for doing. He was doing donuts on pit road. Well, there was people everywhere on pit road because they're trying to get out to the start finish line to celebrate with Austin Dillon. Stop it.
The bigger issue at hand with that is the fact that NASCAR allows people that are not a driver or in the pit crew walking in the pits before all the cars are gone. That's the bigger issue.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Now, Joey Logano was a little bitch.
He was, and he's always been.
Right, yeah, I can't stand Joey Logano. Jake and I talked about this. I am less than casual when it comes to NASCAR. But Joe Logano was rightfully pissed off, and in his interview after it happened, I didn't disagree with a single thing that he said.
No, he wasn't wrong.
No, but where he was wrong was after he was doing donuts, Austin Dillon's wife and very
Kids.
young child were standing there, and he got closer than he should have, revved the engine just to be a prick. Don't do that. But the bigger issue at hand is NASCAR should not let a wife and her two children be standing in the pits while there's still cars out there.
Which is why
With
it should be in victory lane.
right, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think NASCAR did the right thing with Austin Dillon, though.
They did. They needed to. Like I said, I didn't mind the him running into Logano because Logano, yeah, somebody put a video together. Logano and Hamlin have done that stuff for years, so I
Right,
didn't mind him running into Logano. I did not like him turning Hamlin right into the wall. That's a big no-no in racing. You don't do that. But I know he was trying to get the win. It's cutthroat now, and he hadn't won in 2 years. He's under a lot of pressure. That organization has stunk for a while. So hey, he went out on a limb and did it. You got to give him kudos for that. But yeah,
didn't get him anywhere. It hurt him more
didn't
than
get,
that.
I mean, he kept the money, but from the win, but it's going to cost him millions in the standings. So, but yeah, NASCAR, please, for God's sake, start the races at 1 o'clock and go back to victory lane. Let's go back to the when it was good, back to the old times. Please. Jake Minot, I hope you agree with me. I think he might. I know
Right.
Jake. I think he would.
While we're talking about racing and Jake Monnett, RIP Scott Bloomquist.
Legend.
Some consider him the best ever. So I understand that was a heavy day in the race. Not
Yeah,
going to
I
pretend
didn't.
like,
I mean, I always knew his name and knew he was, a legend. I didn't realize to the extent of what he had accomplished till after he had passed and reading. I didn't know he had won that much.
yeah,
Five-time national champion. I mean, just crazy what that guy had won over the years. And it happened close to home. I mean, he wrecked his plane. Was it in Hancock County?
oh, I don't know.
It was around here. It wasn't far from here. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah.
What was wild? What was it? Was it Reddick, the one at Michigan?
And that was his mentor.
Yeah, that was his mentor. Like I saw pictures of him when he was 14 or 15 with Bloomquist. I was like, damn, pretty wild.
Um, Last thing on racing, Newport Speedway is back open in beautiful Newport, Tennessee. We talked about making Newport great again a couple weeks ago. Maybe this is on the track to doing that.
Yeah, could
It
be.
looks cool. If you don't like, you can go on Facebook. They've been posting. Um, Chuck Ward Real Estate bought it, and it was housing a bunch of old junk cars there for a long time. But he has bought it and really cleaned that place up. I'm excited about it. I kind of want to go up there and watch some races when I can. Probably gonna be tough this fall to do that, but maybe next spring we can YY8 can hit up some local racing up there.
Damn, Skippy.
We'll see. Harbin, you got anything before we go? I'm
Nah, man,
tired.
it's late.
I had a big softball game tonight with the Mafia, New Jersey's. We are apparently supporting gun violence at the park, if you can see. So we're 2-1 now. Not off to a great start, but we're having fun. I guess it could be worse. We could be 1-2 or 0-3, but we played the best team in the league week 1 and just got absolutely slapped around. But we don't see him again. So, anyways, Harbin, the next time you hear from us listeners, next time you hear from me and Harb, it will be after the UTC game. We're assuming it'll be a cakewalk win for the Vols, and then we'll be coming to you that following Sunday night, or we'll record that next Sunday night, and then look forward to the NC State game. So big week ahead. We are 10 days of this recording, probably 9, 8, or 7 if you're listening to this. We're a week away. It feels, I know it's going to get hot again. It feels kind of like fall outside this week.
Yeah, it was football weather last few days
A
for
little
sure.
chilly, a little chilly.
Oh, good.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Harbin, I need to apologize to you.
For what?
I cost you some money when we played golf a couple weekends ago. Not
Oh,
very much, but boy,
yeah,
I really drug down that group. I didn't play very well at all, but
yeah.
it was fun. We had fun.
Well, Vegas is a dumb game anyway.
I agree.
Play really well and lose money. That's what happened with me.
What'd you shoot? 71,
I shot 73.
73.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Tyler shot 71.
that's right. I think I shot upper 80s or low 90s or something. I quit paying attention. It was not
Telling
good.
you anything. Tyler won roughly $34 and I lost $4.
Yeah. I lost 31.
Well, what'd you shoot?
Not good. It was a struggle. I kept thinking like first hole, I was hitting the ball pretty well, and then it just I never could get it together. It was just one of those days on the course. So maybe I'll redeem myself this weekend. We'll see. But yeah, I think you and I got on the same team like 6 or 7 holes in a row. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and that was an ugly stretch.
Yeah, it was not pretty. I promise you, I was grinding. It may not have looked like it, but I was trying to grind. But at one point, the grind, it was just like it's not worth it anymore. I'm just trying to get out of here.
Tempting to grind.
I attempted to grind, but there was no grinding. There was no grinding happening.
No
It was
grind zone.
it was bad. The no grind zone. I entered the no grind zone.
That's tough.
I tried to grind in the no grind zone. Didn't happen.
We're getting off the rails here.
Yeah. All right. Let's log it off here before that. So appreciate everybody listening. UT football's coming up. If you're down at the stadium next Saturday, I know it's an earlier kickoff, 12:45, but swing by and see us. We'll be there. We'll have koozies, stickers, all that good stuff. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe to us on the YouTube. Give us a like, a thumbs up, comment. Maybe we'll read your comment on the air. You can also find us on Spotify podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast at. So we'll see you guys next weekend for Tennessee football. It's almost football time in Tennessee for Harbin. I'm Negative Nice. You've been listening to the Section YY8 podcast.